Domini von Hakhel, das Mann hat egal das Nachhalt von welcher Sonne, da kommen sehr richtig noch von die Sonne Schlifnisse. Allah kam die Nasse Hakhel in reingegangen. Leider mit drei Tagen, was wir Gimel singen, haben Chazok, Halshen, Reif, und Aseres, mit Schuhe, Chulu, mit allen Inyonim, Amurim, Liebnis. Jeder soll gleich von ihm tun, wenn es Archid Gott, Chol, Efscher, Shori, Shuli, ab allen die Musik allein, dass jeder Mensch, was sich nicht den Chemisch Shuli, und das mit dem Teichen, Dugma von Anoshim, Chelik mit dem, was verbunden mit Anogas Oilum und Anogas Abayis, und Chine Chaboni, was das verbunden mit Noshim. Chelik mit dem, was verbunden, was da mit Kabel, mit Chunach, mit Joks, noch allein mit Nikol Loden und Chulu, und das bedeutet von Ktanim, und nicht Ktanim, sondern das Ufton basiert, als sie alle vom Tura, die alle Chaloki, sollen durchgenommen werden mit demselben Gedeihen, und jeder Savai, Kol HaYomi, V'chol HaYomi, V'chol HaProti, V'chulu, Ve'ikir, und das helft täglich zu Peil sein basiert, beschaß tut das, und bewegt einer alle Jeden herum sich, und der alle Jeden, was Kose machen herum sich, durch was sagt, verbieten mit sich, durch Arbe, und damit wird das verbunden, was in Maschinen werden gewollt, was so äußert, beschaß das zu werden, redt viel, also redt es mit oder mit dir, mit Adru, was verhaftet, der Jache Komicho, wieder und das Spiel sein, das war das verhaftet, der Jache Komicho, fühlt, das ist die beste Sache und die teilste Sache und die nötigste Sache und die Frage bei Jomi Melo. Und der Riker nicht abgehen von der Pachte von Jonim Apalpi, und das ist nicht, ist manchmal bis am Ende der Scheuer Kaya, und nicht in Eretz Yisrael, aber auch Kopfhörer, wie bald hat das Mann gekommen, und wir lernen in der Taschische Beteiligung, die lernen in der Tasche Hakhel. Ich frage noch an die Schöne allein ist nasse Hakhel, für Kommer Jeser mit Gimel Jonim, für Chulu, sondern es legen ein Status Miuchoda, auf Maschpia sein, als ihnen bekommen Mokim Sheheim, sollen sich zusammenkleiden, die Nanechma Hamasim, und die Mokim Hamasim, und die Snan Hamasim, wenn sie Masim zu Maschpia sein, wie Schleimus und Kedor, Allah es kann und kann ohnehin bei sich allein in sein Schwun oder in sein Stor oder in sein Chub, wo Rode Hashpor Miuchodo, soll dort Makil sein. Anoshim Betar Geiten Hamute, wie wenn geht zu Noschen, wie das Sessel, wenn Annoschen, weil der ist sehr bei Koche. Und ich frage mich an Noschen, wenn geht zu Annoschen. Noschen, wenn geht zu Noschen, wie kann ich sie besägen. Und erzählen sie unregendig von Ayinisch als Mann glauben mit der Posit von Tere. Es wird erzählt wegen Mitzvahs Hagi. Mit der Apostel, was mir sagt, in der Schalme vor dem Svasenu, und wie der erklärt hat, das ist ein Echet als Gule. Natürlich von der Schalme vor dem Svasenu ist mir Mai. Also sein und der Schalme vor dem Betashtus, in den Beis Amigdash Betashtus. Und dann, als einmal und am zweiten Mal und mit Yusuf al-Hatere und mit Divre Tere und mit Rava Rai Zu Allah al-Pi Allah-Is Hatere und mit Dvori Marisim in Allah Pid Afile Meir Rechem Pomi Bemeile mit Giluse Afile Azame Regiles was schon geworden bei ihm Abteva tut noch mehr und Gott in der Ruf tegen der hat Bruch Bichas Hashem lese auf jeder Linie von Teire mit Zwisser. Allah es kann, wenn sie da noch in der Ruf der Linie und ja Geistos, der Leben für die Giebose und damit hat man nicht gedacht, doch, und man so, dass drüber kam auf Pommes, aber Gott nicht nur von Zahlen von Stadt kommt es vor, nur heute in der Leben Messias, schon beherrscht und der Tisch, was nicht allein in der ist massiv mit der Anders und der Norschen Tag, als sollen das zusammenkleiden, Bichlal und bemühen in die Jene der Tage, und Hakhel ist der Mädchen, was das ist der Kommerli, der Dugma und Hakhel schon mit. Als die Hakhel von Hakhel ist der Mädchen, Allah es kamen bei ihm als Kippuri. Hakhel war schon, Allah es kamen in der Dalet Yomi, שבין יום הכיפורים בחג הסוכות. Und dann kommen sollte Mädels an den ganzen durchgenommen, mit Geräten und Zugeräten, Minyanim Shotei und Mitzvah Isser, Kela Leche de Minyan, schon so, von Hakhel, Allah es kam, bei ihm Simchas, besteht Simcha, Gimel von Bechag Asukes, wo Chrolech, Be'esi, Be'eid, bis mit der Gericht zu Simchas von Shmini Atzeret, Yisrael und Malka durch Hedei, bis mit der Gericht zu Simchas Tere, der sagt in Seher. Damit ist verbunden mit Kesser Malchus, wo das ist echt verbunden mit Melave, Jopi, die Renner in Necher, das sind in Necher, wo das ist David, Malka Mishiche, was Jefi HaMelech ist auch verbunden mit Kisri Shal Melech, Kimeduber Lail Barucho, wo das ist echt der Scheich ist. Ich hatte die Atam auf die Scheich ist, von Apostel von Kisri Shal Teire, von Primis Teire, bis in Alef, von Kusser, was dort der größte Linie von Melech Malka Mishiche, noch jeden Gilu Biose, die Gilu Shalei Bepashtus, also soll bei allen Jahren Zachobt und Bepashtus, wie Koromur, an die Idee, was sein des Rieses, Achig Dele der Achishena, in Maishe Rodom und Bifrat Omur Meino in Yoni, durch Hakhel und Anoshim Betach, doch gleichzeitig Jahre als Schole besetzt. Allah es bekam, echt Maschpia sein, was am Wolle leichter zu viel sein bei Zweiten, wie nicht viel bei sich allein. Und das bekam Teilen und Gerichte, wie Besetzes Bepeil und Gerichte, aber so Luft mit sich und Luft mit der Zweiten. Und Luft mit der Dritten und die Kollege zur Welt, kommt der Griechen, als alles soll sein, Kieshech und Belebech, in der alle Inyanim Hamurim und gehen der Chayl und Choyl zu Achas Bashona, alle die Teile Achas, wo damit werden der Gile Echet von Yechida Aklolis, und das ist der Gile von der Bier, ביוסף, גילוי של יחיד הכלוליס, von David Malka Mishiach.
Everything has also a connection with a special time that God Almighty had so arranged to meet there, and this year has a special beginning, a special meaning, because it is the Shnas Hakhel, in the time when the Beis HaMikdash was existent, materially also, it was the time that the Sukkot as preparation for it had begun at the beginning of the year, to gather all the people, all the Jewish people together, and especially not waiting for the Bar Mitzvah, but even the very little one, and even the Ktani, the people of Kinder also. And all these people together is the king of this time. And the Sanhedrin, and the Amrosh, and the Noshim, and the very little children was together in the same place, in the same time, for the same purpose, to read God Almighty's Torah and to take upon themselves to fulfill it during all the year round. And that is also meant to add to the God Almighty's blessing in success in general, especially with feeling their achlot, their decision to follow the Torah in all things necessary, in all things possible, and to do so בחוקי תלמיכה ותצליחה תשמיעו ונסעתי שולם בארץ ולחסו קנימיס, that it will be peace in all the world around us, that is a very big need of peace, and every Jew can contribute in this direction, in this purpose, by adding in his peace of mind between his Neshama and his good, and the main thing also to gather all the Jews around him and influence them in the same direction, as you have the God Almighty's assurance that by deciding to do so, he will give you his blessing in health and parnosa and all good things necessary to do so with maximum of success and of Surah Tevis, and especially the final and Ikeb Surah Teva, that in Mashiach is coming very soon, and we will all together make the Hakhel in the Beis HaMikdash, the real Beis HaMikdash in Matzei form and the new future beginning by this year. And God Almighty bless you and every one of us, between the Jewish people, to meet together always in good health, in the good parnos and for good purposes, and to go from strength to strength in all things, B'nachmiyut to Beruchaniyut. Having Nachasim Otevim to meet again in very good circumstances and for the happy practices. Thank you very much for all the knowledge of this.
Is this the first time you see his name in text?
You're the one. You're my one party.
You really appreciate it.
You want to be on live TV? Keep talking.
Very nice. Staff from Hakhel, Very cool for making this happen. In the Kuda Ba'alma, there's some Hesa Kugel in the corner over here, on the side, and there's hot tea in the back, very, very geschmack, Motzei Shabbos. Very, very good guy, who can take himself a cup. Here at Hakhel, Malka, all the Americans in Semmelbach come together. So we're going to start. We're going to ask the Mashpia or Yeshiva, Zarchi, to share with us a few words.
Where are the chairs? More chairs? No more chairs. Some 70s more chairs. Of course you can paint everything for me. Drop the phone.
Getting blocks and shooting and mentioning the Canadian Canada, Canadian rechters, the mind get that up to land. Die wonen naar Kim, naar deze Kim, tussen de Sachen, in de Winkel. Man redde nicht an die alle Sachen haben. Das ist die ganze Welt, die ganze Gas, die ganze Welt. Ich hätte die Isar viel an der Schiene zu machen, an der Schiene zu planen, so. Das alles zu Mädchen war, Regen, zu behandeln, die Tiere zu stellen. Zu behandeln, in den Herd, Tiere, die Tiere, an die Ruhe, die Bakterien. In der Kompanie, dann kommt zu sein, dass ich an der Schläge nicht passe, wenn die mit Dave, und wir haben mit dem Mann, nur gesehen, dass wir viel Mann dabei waren, die Kinder, mit Dave, das ist auch klar, das ist ein Mehrwert, und was dabei ist, mit den Kindern, und wir haben viel Mann, an die Sachen, die Kinder dabei sind, die Kinder dabei, und die Kinder, wir haben miteinander, und die Kinder, Tegen de Hakhel, in ieder nou een lijke gassen van een kunstige gassen, een lijke gassen, met morgen met gezetels. En daar hebben we gewoon naar het vissen bij wat het zo is. En met nevers gewoon naar wat het zo is. En dan met een tweede in een gaat het zo is. Dat is een één woord van een zweep. Eén kwam in mijn zweep van spalken in het dat deed daar zusammen, kommt zum Tag und zum Nebelsten, zu Kreaturen mit einem langen Dauer. Und das ist so ein bisschen gebrochen, eine letzte Serie und dann genau abgehen. Nicht um die Schmeier sein, das kommt auf Menschen. Die gehen und so, Wochen hinter von Aussagen und Leinen, da keine Hart und das hier, und Hart und Leinen, Mittel und Schiedis. En alle gangtijd tegen Rebbe, want de bakken van alle gangtijd tegen deze geschiedenis. Alle jaren is door een tegen bij de bakken en kloren daar. En niet meer erg, want toen bij Gabel van en kloren daar. En alle maanden in de hoogte slecht. Ja, veel haat op dat in het zien. In het moment dat het gebracht, meer kinderen zijn gedacht, maar veel verder in de Rebbe. En dat ook letten met Abraham. verder meer muziek. Eren, Lenen, en weet men misschien mensen besluiten krijgen, maar het is niet. De meeste van de eerste jaar in de landen in de lekker van de aarde van de aarde van de oorlog was aan het werk. Dan nog een tijdje naar gewoon naar binnen zich alleen, de soos van de kerk. Weer de ene kwam dat ze hadden heel op Hakhel, dat men net gewoon alle games en de series van Malka, alle de bochten en de kinderen, heel dat het kon dat de redde deel van de bochten, de redde deel behouden, middelen, zitten, dan kan men als wekenbochten van de oude man de bochten dat kan, en de stormers dat kan. Die kan zo, de kost op de haard op de wijnbochten. Weer is het samen, dat is weer zo'n weet van bij mij nog hetzelfde jaar dan lopen haken. En de ene bij veel van dat geven. En dan gaat nog wat in de goede zelf met de kost van de één zich naar 75 op één drie naar 7 iedereen die wel die aan de
You could always learn more. Just a reminder that participating in Hakhel is not at all needs in the Mitzvah of Hakhel. Mr. Shem Yom Makrid, we're going to have a Sifa, Motzei, everyone, they're going to do it for their own mini Hakhel. Standing for Mr. Shabbos, Zim Zmiris, and was Besser, was song connected to Hakhel, so I was invited to join the war. Hakhel,
YouTube Live.
No, never after. Well, right. Do it in the middle.
For the next part of today's program, let's call up one of the Bachman, one of the entire Bachman 770. We started a ton in Hakhel release time over the past few months, and he's going to share with us some words of well, sounded also as good from the Yokas last time. Tom Major Shabransky is going out. Tell us about nice Shabbos. There's a couple of versions of the Schools of the Yechusah, say the Hakhel one. Three things came to the Eibishter to complain. Asher Yotzer complained to the Eibishter. It's brought the people associated with the bathroom. He was having one to Asher Yotzer. Aleinu said people spit when they say Aleinu. They don't look in the siddur. They end davening. It's one of the things people forget about. And ice cream. The Ime came to the Eibishter and said, it's not fair. The Rebbe came and he was mevatel me. He said, "Tuzach in Iskafia," and I lost my job in this world. So the Eibishter tells him, don't worry. He tells Asher Yotzer, you won't make you a special bracha under the chuppah. Asher Yotzer. Aleinu, he said, once a year in Kippur, everyone's going to bow down when they say Aleinu. And he tells ice cream, don't worry. So they're coming to Tzeit, they're a shvi, they and they're gonna take care of you. So Baruch Hashem, thank you to the Ma'arganim, Motzei Hertz, and Teitelbaum. Gave us a major opportunity for this Hakhel here. Barsky, thank you. Anyways, there's a Meister of Baal Shem Tov, super famous, is in the Deburim, that Baal Shem Tov told one of his Siddim, Meshel, gave him a shlichus. That he gave him two letters. One letter he gave him a shlichus to go to the city of Melave, and he gave him one letter to give to the Rav of the city, Chaim Rappaport, and he gave him a specific shlichus to do when he gave him the letter, and another letter to give to another Yid in that city named Chaim Yisrael, the potter, Tepper, that he was one of the hidden tzaddikim, no one knew about him, he was a simple Yid. And the shlichus to him was just to give him the letter and not say a word and leave. So he went to do his first shlichus to go to Chaim Rappaport and to the Rav. And when he came to the Beis Medrash where he usually was, he saw that there was a big commotion and he was very, very busy. And they told him that there was a big zeta in that city to tear out the tefillah of Aleinu from all the Siddurim, and they're having a sifa to figure out what to do about the Gzeira. So he realized he wouldn't be able to do his shlichus for the Rav then, so he went to do the second shlichus. He went to Chaim the Potter and gave him the letter, and he left as he was told. Once he left, he went back to the shul, and he saw that by that time the Rav wasn't there anymore, so he went. They told him that he went to his house. He gave him the letter, and upon receiving the letter from the Baal Shem Tov, from his Rebbe, he stood up, Melave Motzei, and he received the letter. And the minhag was that whenever he received the letter from the Baal Shem Tov, to burn all the Gemaras, and that the Yid didn't have to pay a lot of money to the Galach, otherwise he's going to send all the Goyim to do pogroms. And this same Yid came over to him and told him that if he's not Malave his Gzeira, he's going to die. And he ignored him, he sent him away. And when it came time to burn all the Gemaras, he collected all the Gemaras, and there was a big fire already burning. And this guy that went up, was going up to start the ceremony, and on his way up he had a heart attack and died. And there's a big commotion, and they obviously realized that it was coming from the Eibishter that was saving the Yid. And this Galach, Mikulski, lying in his bed, remembered this and remembered that it was this Yid. So he realized that this Yid means business, he's come from Baal Shem Tov, and he told them to be about the Gzeira, that they don't have to clear out the Aleinu from the Siddurim, and they can continue saying Aleinu, and he hopes that the Baal Shem Tov will have mercy on him and heal him because of that. And obviously the Yidden were Baruch Hashem able to continue saying Aleinu, and that is the message. So the small Nakuda, assuming we're all here English-speaking American Bachrim, so Stam, that means that we're all here after Shlichus. So when I was in Shlichus, we made a mitzvah once, and part of the mitzvah was to take a achlata. And one of the Bachrim, he took a achlata to say Aleinu from the Siddur. And this was 2 or 3 years ago. And I met him now, and he said he's still doing it. He's still saying Aleinu from the Siddur. And it's a Hakhel gathering, so it should result in the Yiras Hashem. So we can take, it doesn't have to be Aleinu, but these small things like saying Aleinu from the Siddur, we know that the Rebbe benched, the small benching from the Siddur. We can all do something like that. Yiras Hashem, a good Tavach. Beautiful, beautiful story, beautiful inspiration. For the next part of tonight's program, before we get to our special guest that came here all the way from Australia, I want to call up one of the English-speaking Anhola members of 770. Share with us a few words about Hakhel, after it's in English.
Such a title, man. English speaking. Ich weiß nicht, was du da immer gerät, so if I start just kind of what everyone else said, just let me know, I'll go to the next one.
They said that already.
you do at the end of Tishrei, the beginning of Cheshvan, the Rebbe read that Be'etzem, Itzter heit on Hakhel. The mitzvah of Hakhel is during Chet of Tishrei, but then it's more the inspiration, the chayis, but the Arabic from Hakhel actually starts as Tishrei comes to a closing. And Cheshvan starts, and the Yamot heeft the Avodah von Hakhel. We say a few nekudis, as the Rebbe read the Vachim, it's from Parsha of Noach, and there's the Yechidus to Bachrim. So, the Rebbe gets to Bachrim, a poor mol, we get to Hakhel, we get to Bachrim Dafka. So first of all, there's the Sicha of Erev Yom Kippur, the Rif Sabanim, the Rebbe read to Hakhel, and Noshim Letaf, and Avodah of Bachrim. But here, there was a Yechidus Klalis, so Bechlal, at the end of Tishrei, we get Yechidus Klalis. So Yechidus Klalis, so B'derech Klal, the same Yechidus Klalis is first is for the Erchim, and their Noach is for Chassan Kala, Bar Mitzvah, and for Motzei there would be other klutzes as well. So in Memches, there was also Yechidus for Talmidei Yeshivas and Talmidei Mashlochim. It wasn't every year, but for Motzei probably more, when you've seen the Yechidus for Tashon Beis, the Yechidus Yedua to Bachrim. So there's over here the Yechidus for Bachrim. So in this Yechidus, the Rebbe get Saiva to get to regular Bachrim, and Saiva to get to Talmidei Mashlochim, and the Sprach sort of goes back and forth. But in the Kudus, the Cheder Hashem Tziyadei Bachar, Lachkan Kama Bachar here in the Yeshiva. So a few Nikudis, as the Rebbe read the Orton and get to Bachrim, so one Nikud is, the Rebbe was still talking in the Ein Reicher Lahakel. That the Rebbe started speaking about this. Yeah? The Rebbe started speaking about this already in Gimel Tishrei. The Rebbe reflected Shaila, why don't we see that in Fried Kedeiris there was the Indian of making a Zecher for Hakhel? We see in other Inyanim that were in the base of English, a Machta Zecher. And here we don't see that there was a story of making a Zecher. And then the Rebbe continued on some Chastera, Shabbos Bereshis, that the Rebbe tried to give different answers why there was no Zecher. Maybe it was Mitzad, there was a Sakana, they were worried that if we make a Zecher Hakhel, it would look like an uprising. But that only explains certain days in certain places, but other times when Yidden were the Chayre in a matzah that they could have done it in time of Rebbe Tuninus, there were times that they could have done, and nevertheless it wasn't done. And the Rebbe took different mahalchim. One in the Kudus, the Rebbe Kachdim, is that certain inyanim you can't make a zecher for, because the inyan of Hakhel, as before in the Sichos, the inyan of Hakhel is the kimusim l'yireh savaya. The chefza of the mitzvah is the kavan. The kavan is the chefza. The whole mitzvah is the people come together in this order. So if they would make a zecher lahakel, and there would be more order yidden, and even if it wouldn't have the bim and it wouldn't have all the pratim and the makom mikdash, it would be the mitzvah hakel. So really, it's the mitzvah lane. It's not a zecher. And as the Rebbe said in the word, al derech the inyan hayidua, it's do azan zach. As we can't mishmach machin, but as we machtem noch, is just the zach alone. So there could be certain things there is no zecher, it has to be the thing itself. When you get to the Zachalei, we don't want to do the thing itself, we don't want to make an actual Hakhel, because that will already be Mezalzel, if we'll make Hakhel too often, and then Hakhel today would be Mamshek Hakhel in the Beis HaMikdash, it would take away from the Chshivnis, Heker Hakelcha, B'Beis Reyecha, Shmer Hakelcha, Kashdel Beis HaLikim, certain Inyanim, you don't want to do it too often, this takes away from the Chavivis. And the Kuta that came out from there is, that sometimes we'll not be reminded, so we'll make something a bit harder to achieve. We won't make it so easy, not because we don't want it for care, because we want to bring out the yoker and the cheshivas and the chavivis of dinner. So there's it, the Rebbe said when you get to limit of Torah. The tires the zach is learning. The nibble of the cheshivas is the tires the zach. Nevertheless, we see that there's all kinds of inyanim that the stand in the way and make it a bit harder to be matzliach limit of Torah. The Chazal tell us that there's our boy Mushmain and Milas. There's a whole list of inyanim to do in order to be matzliach the nibble. Why are we telling this to a year? L'chayra, Machtas Shver, and Heitz, Machtas Shver, it makes it much harder to learn. The answer is, Machtas is Shver, Farker. We're trying to bring out the Chavivas Inyan, and just like when we get the Hakhel, it's such a dover yakar, and therefore we add certain Tnoim and certain Yonim Farker to make it not more chashav by the mensch. That's one Nekudah. Another Nekudah that was the Rebbe Gered is, the Rebbe used the Sprach when he gets to Shmuel, and the same when he gets to Bachrin, that the answer to this Indian, that certain Inyanim, there is no matzah making a zecher for it. Either it's a thing itself or it's garnishing. In order, if you do the thing itself. There's no zecher. So the Rebbe said, there's when you get to the shlichus, that when you go on the shlichus, Inyanim Luvid Atera, it's nish a zeicher for Rebbe's sandwich. It's a zeicher. Like I'm not really a shlich, I'm not really a bacher. It's a zeicher. No, there is no place to make a zeicher here. Nor we make the zachaling. Since we get the bacher, sometimes a bacher in yeshiva, last come down some 70. Sometimes we can read that it's a shtickle or not of a zeicher. Either it's a zeicher to the 70 bacher in Bamal, or it's a zeicher to when I used to be a bacher, when I will be a bacher. You can enter some matzahs. I'm doing what I have to do, but I'll make it from zeicher. When it's a kum shnas Hakhel, there's no place for a zeicher. There's a shlokim zeicher. Either you're it, and if you're it, that means you're the melech, you're the koyin, the chul to the first in the sichos. There's no place to be a zeicher. That's the difference from the yechidus. In the sichos of Parshas Noach, the Rebbe read very interesting. In the Geya to what's the shaykhus of the Hakhel, the Rebbe from the every parsha, every yita. The Rebbe says the Be'etzem in Parshas Noach, there's no Tevas Noach. So Tevas Noach is before Yechidus, that the matzah in the table was al derech lasim loving. The lasim loving, everyone is together. There's achdus from Kal Yisrael from Gantz Belt. But then it's there. In Tevas Noach, there was already the Indian of Gorzei and Keves. Al tzadam yeshkisu b'chol ha'kochi. So the rest of the Hakhel in the Tevas Noach wasn't just Hakhel. It was Hakhel from Gantz Belt. A few from the Havis, a few from Goyim. Everything was there together. They wouldn't say clearly, but Cheder comes place of Meir Digazah, the Matter does figure out what's the market for Shnas Hakhel. Throughout Melave, throughout the year, in the Koitz, went back and forth, trying to figure out what's the market for Shnas Hakhel. Okay, so that was Chiddush, but where did they ever take it from? And the entire year, we ran the Hinserig. At the end of the year, the Rebbe was B'Siachastik, and the Rebbe said, different Koitz, where you get the Shnas Hakhel, Motzei Shnas HaShmita, Shnas HaShminis, Shnas HaYovel. And the Rebbe was makiyah in ha'aret till Mishal Klol Yimem Ches. You hear the Rebbe says, when was the first Shnas Hakhel? The first Shnas Hakhel was the Shnas Amal. For an entire year, they were in the table. Entire year, that was a year plus, what was that? It was a year plus. Hakhel goes up till the next, more than a year. But Panush, there was a full Shnas Hakhel in the table. So that's about the Kuk zusammen. So that's the Hakhel, is all zusammen. But Pashtos, all the Bachram here, as we saw the dollar in 770, Boyle a table. Tavis a Torah, Tavis a Tefillah, and I think of the table from 770. So that's the Boyle a table Hakhel. Bring the Yiras Hashem. The Rebbe says it's a very interesting about the Chayra. That's a word that they're all together in the table. The Pashtos, it's the biggest Yiras Savai. The Rebbe says no, it come to from Yiras Savai. So the Yiras Hashem, where did they get it from? Where did it come from? So when they looked through the Tzoyar, the Chaloim, and they were able to see what's happening outside the table, and they saw the Oydish of the Deira Mabul was Shuvigaton, so that was Poyo B'tachlis, the Yiras Savai, B'tachlis Hashleit. They were just able to look outside and see what's going on. It's like a brachta, any from the Yiras Savai. It's really a shleimar that the Chayra, the Etzem part, the Kvintzach Halal Tzuzamin, 1970, those are the Gresel Yiras Savai. Being in the Pnim. Well, Chayra is also a word, so Mol to Mol, guckt man durch the Tzoyar, die Chaloim, and Tzoyi, and you see as a kranke Welt, and a Welt, a Mabel to Tzoyi, and all of a sudden you realize the Chavivis, as it does. Maybe that's why from Mol to Mol, you go out to release time, you go out to Tzoyi, or the Chaloim, but maybe it's not later the Yiras Savai, to recognize the Chashivas and the Yoker of this man that we're here. I call upon him, Allah is not in the side, and the Rebbe let Hakhel get to Bachrin, to Makel and Yonim in Torah, learning Allah Chalokim from Torah, and bringing Allah and Yonim zusammen, and Zayin Ashnas Atzloche. The Rebbe, in Memches, the Rebbe Gered, so throughout the year was Shnas, the Rebbe called it Shnas Hakhel, and Shnas Tismach Pesama. Towards the end of the year, the last few weeks, the Rebbe said, the day year, there's been a Shnas Atzloche. Another name for the how it connects to Hakhel and Simcha. Zayin Ashnas Atzloche, Begashas to Beruchnias, and the year Kol HaYomim, L'chaim.
the bathroom.
Before we get to the keynote address, just want to remind everyone on the table there's this little Cash App scan barcode. Later, everyone that Mr. Shelby plan on doing a holy Hakhel with the American Assembly buff for him to make it. To make it easier to make the Hakhels even more grand with better, just all the different ways that a Hakhel can be more grand. The more money, you give some money, it'll definitely be, it'll definitely help out a lot. For those that don't have barcodes, because according to Shiv's rules, I don't know if you you can ask a friend to give cash out for you, and you give him cash, or you can go to Motzei Hertz, what? Or you can go, what? Or you can go to Motzei Hertz and give him cash, $10, $15, $20, whatever it is. Or definitely $100, $80, whatever you do that will help. We're starting to Thank you, Rebbe Zaychen, for the donation. And now, as we come to the climax of this beautiful Hakhel, I'd like to ask Rabbi Telsner, Shliach of the Rebbe, to come over from Australia to share with us some words of inspiration, Yiras Hashem, whatever else might be on his mind.
I'm supposed to keep the oil awake. I'll start off with a horror on the last speaker before. Mentioned about a hachlot about saying a lena from a siddur. Now, I'm chas v'sholem, mi ani umani, I'm just not going to begin the drushes, garnish, but whatever it is, I'm older than most people in the room, and there are things that you see when you come to 770. I didn't come specially for this kinnis, quite honestly. I've been around Mexico and it's a soul, mitzvah, etc., etc. So therefore I'm here. And I couldn't refuse. First of all, I'm a bit annoyed. The English-speaking bochra. What does that mean in English? Chas v'sholom k'azeh nicht reden, nicht trachten, normalerweise nicht reden. So the shaila is, everybody learns sichas and everybody listens to the sichas, basically knows Yiddish. You can't come along and say that a bochra really wants to understand the nuances of what the Rebbe said and everything the Rebbe said that has to know Yiddish bepashtus. I remember when I was in Chabad and how Svardische Bochrim also gemutschet and poshet meise nefesh given. A Svardische Bocher can't hardly speak a word of English or anything else. But when it came to Yiddish and we wanted to know exactly what the Rebbe said, so some poshet meise nefesh. I mean, today's everything's b'siris nefesh. We become a door of b'siris nefesh. So what happens is that the guys on the poshet, meise nefesh given, and therefore that should be only English-speaking individuals is a bit of a problem. But whatever it is, that's the facts of it. Maybe they're starting to learn, but everybody at the end of the day, speaking Yiddish, the Rebbe Nagdoma to Shurim Sefer Tanya, those who remember the Nagdoma. The Rebbe spoke a whole lot of about the Meiler, Yiddish, and then some Geret Yiddish, etc., etc. So, Achlota number one for the evening that everybody should start learning. I'm not saying that nobody doesn't know, but it should be that we should be able to read the Yiddish and everything else and understand when the Rebbe spoke in that language. The Rebbe said we had a Tanya a few days ago, the Baal Shem Tov, the Rosh Ashkenaz. So therefore, if the Baal Shem Tov spoke Yiddish and all the Rabbeim spoke Yiddish, etc., etc., we have an obligation. Horror number two, he says Aleinu from a Siddur. Now it's a Gvaldik Gezach, no question about it. But we have to ask ourselves a simple question. Anyone who saw the Rebbe daven? Anyone? The Rebbe always davened from a Siddur. Always. Walked around with the Siddur, davened from the Siddur, benched from the Siddur. And to come along and say, and as a result of that, we're going to say Aleinu from the Siddur. And the rest of the davening, be like, Hakhel. I don't believe that you can be, a guy can come along and say, Aleinu in the Siddur. What about the rest of the davening? What do you do then? Aleinu, you run around and try to find the Siddur. I don't think that's what he meant. But the Cha'ura, I think that one shouldn't put too much emphasis in taking one Nekuda. When Bemes, everybody should be davening from the Siddur. Is that Dora Posha, the Rebbe to many Bochrim, and Chiddushim, and in the letters you say it's Palam Mitech HaSiddur. And there's no question, anybody who saw the Rebbe always davened from the Siddur. So therefore, one should realize that taking one part of the davening, Aleinu is like Valdik Tefillah, Rafa became. Interestingly enough, about the Gzeira of Aleinu, I heard from my uncle in Blade, that when the Rebbe came to America, So he was put in charge of all the printing, all the Sfarim, etc. One of the things the Rebbe did when they reprinted the Siddur, if you take a look, it wasn't the Torah Siddur, and also now that they have the Siddur which was put online from Tav Suf, Tav Kuf Samach Gimel, which the Friedlander writes, it maybe the first print, it was printed in Shlomo, is a prayer for the Medina, for the Tsar. Now, anyone of you, I think should make a chlota that how many Russisch Yidden are still left over, as you get older, people move. So therefore, it's always good to speak to Russisch Alte Yidden, as Bechlal Agwaldike Meile, and to give some of their experiences. And one of the experiences I heard from many of them, that when they used to say the prayer for Stalin, over against Stalin, she paid in 1953, one of those famous mitzvot that Rebbe with the Sipur, and you had to say it every Shabbos. Now the Moker Bechlal is the Rebbe Mispal B'Shleim Shel Malchus, but the original Moker is interesting is the Targum Sheni in Esther, which of course everybody's a book in Targum Sheni in Esther. It's not a push, it's in the back of the Chumash. And dort the Gewaldike Sachen. I remember once there was the whole Sikha about Esther Kasha, never beginning the parents about going to Mikveh Machatzois. Never said, we're looking at Zach, never spoke about Purling Fabringen, and never gave an answer. But in Dortmund, in the Targum Hasheni, one of the things that Haman actually came along and told the Hashleresh that every Shabbos the Yidden come to Shul Mekalelin LeMalkayo, and they cursed the king. Which is and it wasn't they cursed the king, but they blessed the king. This is the oldest we had that every Shabbos people used to actually bench. But this was in Europe, this was a portion, they hung it on the wall, and he didn't say it. But this guy told me, the more than I spoke, he told me that when they used to have this prayer for Stalin, if you didn't stand in attention, and mamash as if have my keys by the Rebbe, the guy there was a Russian policeman, and of course you put your name down and you ended up either in Siberia or in Tfisa or whatever it is, it was pushing a harrowing, I'll use the modern day expression, traumatic experience, because today everything's a trauma, Baruch Hashem. So therefore, as a result of that, when you had this, when this brachas, when the Rebbe came to America, interesting, the first thing the Rebbe did was he took it out of the city. This prayer for the king or the Tsar or whatever it is, the Rebbe actually took it out of the city, which was very interesting. I don't think he asked if he gave it. Doesn't say that he asked if he gave it. But that's one of the things that Rebbe actually took up when he came in the city. We're here for a Hakhel gathering. Now, Shlomo mentioned before, and anyone who listens to the Sichos, you see how the Rebbe is kocht in the whole concept of Hakhel. I remember when Neshek came out, so usually people used to write into the Rebbe for brachas. So what was the answer? And a lot of people got asking about Tziyam, etc., etc. There was a time, right, Neshek started Motzei, Shabbos Kedesh, Tachzot Lamed Hey, Shabbos Bereishis, and when people wrote in for different inyanim, for weeks on end, the only answer they got, Ha'oisiku b'mitzah Neshek. The guy could have had a problem with Gizum, the guy could have had a problem with Shidduchim, the guy could have a problem with business. The first thing that ever would answer, nothing is this Refi did that. There was times after Neshek began, the only thing that ever answered Ha'oisiku b'mitzah Neshek. Which basically means that sinner of all the brachas and all the hashpoyas that we ever wanted to give us, all came through the Inyan b'mitzah Neshek. I once heard from Yerushalmi Yid, who happened to marry into a Lubavitch Mishpacha. And, when you get married, you go Achar Baal, usually. So what happened was that from time to time, his wife used to write to the Rebbe, and he also, once in a while, he needed a Psadroch, he would write to the Rebbe. And one day he gets an answer. Ha'oisiku b'mitzah Neshek. And this guy, Yerushalmi, Streimel, the whole business, Yiddishkeit is of a different level. But whatever it is, he gets the letter. He has to show his wife, of course. And they had daughters. He didn't know what to do. That you can't say. So he realized that he's got to do it. The Baruch Hashem, they started, all the girls started benching, Neir Shabbos Kodesh, which showed, but the Rebbe sent it to everybody. The Rebbe took the Gilem and to this and to that, which meant that at certain times, you see, the Rebbe had a mitzvah. Labor once told me that sometimes the Rebbe used to tell him, was the Retzach Shabbos of Dosus, was Medaf Yetz Tom. That means the Fabrengen, the Rebbe used to say things, and nobody had a reason why the Rebbe said this, why not after that. And push it, and also remember, Meilat Nazigeret, and the Rebbe said certain things, and you didn't understand why the Rebbe all of a sudden said. Sometimes, months later, the famous Chamshasa Bishvat, Fabrengen, when the Rebbe spoke about Mitzvah Torah, Ba'aliches, Mamash, and then a few months later he said, maybe when I tell her why he said it, but now when I'm the draft and the whole business wasn't gestupt, said the Rebbe. He said, please speak about this Indian. So therefore, as a result of that, the Rebbe said many times, but the Rebbe would say something and you didn't know where it was coming from. With Tzoyim, you had a little bit of it. There was sometimes you knew a little bit about it, sometimes you had no idea why the Rebbe was up to this and that. But you saw that the Rebbe wanted it, and sometimes you saw that the Rebbe didn't let up. And the Hakhel could actually take a look again and again and again, how many times, like Yichidus and the Bichas Keren, there was a video they just showed, Ben Shneidem at Hakhel, the whole involvement that the Rebbe was, Mamash Rosh Lerubai, completely into the Indian of Hakhel was unbelievable. In today's Dvar Malchus, interesting, I just have to look at today's Dvar Malchus, they have a letter from Tafshil Gimel, where the Rebbe talks about, now the Etzisol, the Kechevre, especially the Abonim and Etzisol, the modern Abonim, wanted to make Taka Azeichel Hakhel. He wanted to do it, it's a mitzvah Torah, and it's something nice, and those of you who know, Tofresh and Zion, there was a Rebbe by the name of the Aderes. Aderes was an interesting character, he eventually moved to Yerushalayim, and he wrote a kuntris on Hakhel. As Zechusai Ani Maskir. The kuntris was published in Tofresh and Zion and was Ikar Atzid. I couldn't get a hold of it. In Tofshin Vov, it was reprinted there to Israel. And that year, I was talking to the label, and the label tells me the Rebbe doesn't have the kuntris. And the Rebbe kocht sich a Shlishak with that kuntris, he doesn't have it. So I had a fellow in Williamsburg, one of the best libraries in the whole of New York, unbelievable. That they didn't have thousands of stories, all the meaning from beginning to end. So I went over to him, and I said, the Rebbe wants to have you have the kuntris. And what was interesting, he told me he doesn't have it. I was shocked. The guy had everything. He had the Mamloyas and the original Ladino. There wasn't anything the guy didn't have. Every single thing you could think of. He shouldn't have it. I was shocked. And he tells me there's a Rebbe official Hershkovitz, also has tremendous Ladino telephone pole. And I'll ask him if he has it. And he had it. So we went over to the guy's house, and I tell him, official Rebbe Vilnius, I had a him. And he gave it to me, didn't ask any question. He gave him 100%. And he gave it to the Rebbe. I don't know if the Rebbe ever gave it back, but I never got any police thing to go to get, that I stole anything. He didn't. Talk about Swarton, another mice I once heard from Label. There was another Yid in America called Dov Hyman. This guy Hyman had also a Meshunadik library. His father wrote the Tales Tanakh Ameroi, which the Rebbe quotes in a few places. He also had Torah Aksuba Masura. And he was a doctor, he was a skin doctor. And one of the Milas had to get find out was like he was a regular Yid. And the Rebbe used to take Sforim by him very often because he had an unbelievable library, unbelievable knowledge, computer. Even a Sharblat. Sometimes people want to have a Sforim collection because they want to show off. But at the Pushing Land, him of Alayla came out, even though he was a doctor. And he also wanted the Sefer to be complete. The first page should also be there. And so he couldn't get a Sharblat. He would write to every single library in the world to try to get a Sharblat. So Abel tells me he once went into Yechidus, and once went into them, and there it says, you see that pile over there in the corner, there's 4 or 5 Sforim, and they all belong to Dr. Hyman. Please send a taxi back to give it to him, because I promised him I'll keep it for a month. So I want to give it to him, it should be, and Label sent it back. Now Hakhel started, as I say, Tofishn and Zain's Aderes, had an excitement, let's do something about it. So he said every Rav should go to shuls, it didn't take off, no one got very excited about it. Because as it says, those chadoshes is a Baal Mulchametz, people don't take up Mulchametz. But Tofshin Vov already, things already started moving ahead at the Sol and Abonim, because they did make in shuls. And you see, all game there now, Bissalat Tumul, they read the Parshas, they gave enough to read, etc., etc. But it never took off. It's not something which really had anything. It's in the Torah, very nice. And no one got too excited about it. The Rebbe started in Tofshin Gimel talking about it and mentions Amazon nicht machen wie sie, mamish the same type of a thing. And the Rebbe was very clear about it, black and white. You saw the Rebbe was not at all soll nicht machen dieselbe Sache to copy or do this Indian, not at all. So sein der Indian, Liris Havaya, and Hakhel Sanoshim, etc., etc. But the Rebbe, as we see, as the years went by, became stronger and stronger and stronger. And it became, the Rebbe said, Shnas Hakhel, and the Chidush Godel, the Rebbe, Shnas Hakhel, he went them talking, and that was it. People went home. No one stayed in Shalim, all was in a gegangen. But the Rebbe said, Shnas Hakhel, and the famous Sagia Kedish and Game Yang, but the Rebbe actually writes very clearly about all the things that he was doing. And the Rebbe writes, the exact lotion. Machrish, Shnas Hakhel, you see that the Rebbe was very, very, very excited. And with the cards, and Mamish, the Rebbe, when he spoke about the Sikha, the cards, Mamish, you never had, the Rebbe should talk so clearly about what to do and write. And it was unbelievable. He will be kidding, no question about it. Now, one of the things that the Rambam actually says about Hakhel, that it's a mini Matan Torah, that this is almost the same thing as Matan Torah. When you think about it, Matan Torah has many different aspects. Number one, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu in the Neishnat Torah. And the Moshe Rabbeinu from Unze Dor, the same thing. So number one, you have this union of the Rabbeim and the Moshe Rabbeinu B'chol Dor V'Dor, and as a result of that, so this is a continuation. Even though the Rebbe writes in the Ha'aris, it doesn't have to be Hakhel Melech, and the Rebbe says it could be the Kamas, and different Rishonim, that you can have other people, and Shakihila, etc., etc. Number two, the Matan Torah is Bereses, Bezeya, and we have to stand, Kela, the Kelo, Subrokim, Vayechad, Koloma, Shabamachne, and then of Beetle. And the Chassidus said so, but Dittel, nicht nur Rotzen, or Lebala Rotzen. And Matan Torah was the Achdus of Klal Yisrael, Yishach of the Lev Echad, which was the only time that we had such an Achdus actually took place, as mentioned before, by the Indian of the Mabul and the Teva, different type of Achdus, the Ari was not such a big Achdus guy, he didn't get his supper, he was very excited. But whatever it is, the Achdus that was by Matan Torah never existed before or never after. The Rebbe used to always quote the Medrash to Sifri that Im Hoya Shom Echad, if in the Shishim Ribu one Jew would not be ready to be Makabel Torah, then the Torah wouldn't have been given. That means it could have been Aaron and Moshe and everybody else, and one Posh Te'id who was not up to that standard and knew one Makabel Torah at that stage, all of a sudden the Torah wouldn't be given. So we see that the Rambam, when he equated the whole thing of Hakhel, now of course, it's not in Ma'ar Sinai. It's a level of Kedusha, which is, you could say, maybe greater than Ma'ar Sinai, which is the Beis HaMikdash, Mokum HaShechina V'Shachanti B'Seicham, and that everybody has to come. And the Rebbe Taka once laughed, there was a Sikha where the Rebbe quoted, I don't know which Sefer it was. So the Rebbe said, can you imagine, because it says you have to bring Tinekes. No, a Tinekes, Shleishim Yein, which you'll all eventually get married. So you're not a Tinekes, but Shleishim Yein, there's this thing called nappies or diapers, I don't know if you guys know. So there's a Zachman, and you have to clean it up. So said the Rebbe started laughing. Can you imagine in Beis HaMikdash in Hazar over there, you got 10,000 nappy changes and the Varizvah for the Schmutzige nappies. It's not an easy task to do. But the Rebbe said, but the Achreinim, they want to come along and say that even by Ben Shleishim Yein, you have a guy that's got to actually come ahead and has got to be there. of the union of Hakhel in general, which is, as we said before, Yiras Hashem, which is to bring Yiras Shamayim. Now, of course, Tmimim, Bachim, we'll talk to Bachim now. The concept of Yiras Shamayim, of course, is Limud Achsidus. The whole concept of Limud Achsidus, the Bachim were given, and the Rebbe Rashab, when he founded Temchet Tmimim and started Temchet Tmimim, the whole Nekuda was Limud Achsidus. Nigla, there was plenty of yeshivas around, as you must have heard. But the Rebbe Rashab specifically wanted the Chassidus and Malad Chassidus, and not all the elder Chassidim were happy about that. There were plenty of guys who thought that the Rebbe Rashab was a bit, there's a modern Kavyochel, Maisa, the Bachstum, and Chassidus. You get older, you get married, you zitzers, and Ramshi, man, she's like it, 16, 17, 8, 11, 3 hours is an hour in the morning, an hour at night. This is something completely new. Plus the fact that anybody who takes a look at the Maimorim that the Rebbe Rashab actually said in those years. So I once heard from Shlomo Chaim, very interesting. They once asked the Rebbe Rashab, how come the Maimorim, after the Kabbalah Zanasiyas and the Dalit, were different than the Maimorim he said before? They were different. So Rebbe Nishma said, Jemol habe ich gesagt, was ich habe gewollt. Und jetzt sage ich, was mir heißt mir sagen. That then I said what I wanted to say. But now I say what I have to say, what I've been told to say. And everyone knows, take for example, Ranat. Ranat was specifically geared to the Bachim. I mean, the Bachim came to Lubavitch. I was Zoiche. When I came to Kfar Chabad and Topshchav Zayin, the Rebbe of Kfar Chabad was still around. He claimed, and I have nothing to, kind of any rise to disagree, that the Rebbe Rashab said to him, "Du bist mein erster Talmud." He came to the wedding, he came to the Fidigeves Chasana, at his Vavel, and he came only for the Chasana, he wasn't going to stay. During the Sheva Brachas, the idea of Temchet came on the scene, and as a result of that, they were looking for Talmidim, and he was a Bacher, he was 17, 18, and the Rebbe Rashab said to him, that's what I heard me from his own mouth, that he was the erster Talmud. And not all the Talmidim, the first few were always good. But they started the yeshiva, and the Ranat was specifically said to the Madrege, because Bochum in that years at 16, 17, ich weiß nicht um gelernt Tanya, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know anybody, who said that by 17, 18, everybody was Bochum Tanya. Then she was Tanya mitzad Kabbalah soil. But Havoneh and Asoge in Tanya, the other nicht, and certainly not look at the Tater or other Maimorim. But when the Rebbe Rashab started Temchet Tmimim, the Maimorim were geared to Afish and Tess was specific towards the Bachim, and same thing Samach and the Samach Aleph and the Samach Vav. Everything went as the Bachim grew in the idea of Chassidus. That's how the Maimorim grew until you got to Ayin Beis, which meant that the Maimorim, even though you could say the Maimorim was sent to the Bachim, to the Goliath too, not only to the Bachim. But at the end of the day, the union of Chassidus was geared to the Bachrim. The Chazorah was Bachrim, and even the writing, all the Pekika was the Bachrim. And as a result of that, Yiras Hashem is the limit of Chassidus. No question about it. Now, Yiras Hashem is in all different angles. And a person who learns Chassidus is a different individual. Shini Amahus, if a person learns Chassidus. One said from Rebbe, a story about Rebbe Maharash. There was a big lam, a big rov in his town. He was a big baki, a lama, pesach, all business. And he wanted to learn Chassidus. So he came to the Lubavitch, and he went into Rebbe Maharash, and he told the Rebbe Maharash that Nigla Kenech, and the Kabbalah, and the Prishtim. That means the guy more or less is a Muslim. What does he want? He wants to learn Chassidus. So the Maharash said to him, Chassidus lernt man nicht verschleimus. You don't learn Chassidus verschleimus, and he told him to go home. Chassidus lernt man Yiras Hashem. It changes the person, the pain just changes the personality, and it makes a person into what a chassid is supposed to be. And as a result of that, the whole union of Hakhel, you could actually argue, is more connected to the Bachim than to anybody else. I mean, Avada, Taf Zayin Yiras Hashem, but to come along and to say Indeed, the Bachim, whose they spend most of the time, what is it they should be doing? That is what leaders out. As I mentioned before, I came to, on the wall, Yeshiva, that the Rebbe wrote in Tovshin Tez Vov or Tez Zayin. I don't remember exactly. It was hanging on the wall. I don't know if anyone took much notice. Maybe they hung it up and people take notice, but it was on the wall. When I came, it was on the wall. So I went over to the wall and started reading the letter. The Rebbe there quotes a Pirush HaMishnayos, Hakdama to the Pirush HaMishnayos. Bichlal, I'm not here to tell Bochum what to do. There's one thing from what I know of Bochum, for example, that every time the Rebbe quoted a Marmokim, he put the Sichas, he would buy the Sefer. That means every time the Rebbe had a Sefer quoted, he would buy it next week. And the Rebbe had a break to Sefer, he would have his home. That's why you see a sentence from the Rebbe does not bring very much. There's a few of them that you never see. But the Rebbe does bring in Pirush HaMishnayos, the Rebbe Bechlal. Even before Mitzvah Rambam, the Pirush HaMishnayos by the Rebbe was a very, very favorite things from Nachum, Perek Zayin, and very in general, the Pirush HaMishnayos. The Hakdama about the Rambam, the Pirush HaMishnayos, is an unbelievable, it's come an unbelievable piece of work. First of all, the Rambam gives all the Shtalshus and Ten Shabbal Peh. Then the Rambam says, he brings a Maaseh, he brings the famous Gemara, Ilan Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Adam Shel Halacha. And the Rambam has a whole discussion of what that means. And he says like this. He says, how do you have a world? You need a world, no? So for the world you need a Schuster, a Schneider, a Katzer, a baker, a plumber, a carpenter. You can't, one person itself is not shaykh to do everything. So you need all kinds of people. And the Rambam goes to a whole bunch of people. The Rambam goes along. And then he says, okay, what's a tachlis? The tachlis is not the carpenter, the tachlis is not the butcher, the tachlis is not the baker. The tachlis is one person was trachling achtus avoyre. And that was written to Timchet Tmimin. It was hanging on the wall. It says, was it a tachlis in Timchet Tmimin? Everybody knows tachlis in Timchet Tmimin. The Bochum should have the Inyan of Bittel, and the Zovissen Zayin Eideg Novadoi. Very famous, those of you who remember, there was a Jew in Ramat Gan called Moshe Chaim Alperovich, who didn't come from a Lubavitcher family. But he got to Lubavitch somehow. If you read the history of Lubavitch, you will find many guys arrived, not really because they came to Lubavitch in Mishpachas, others because they knew Lubavitch was B'Blai Merlech Yidin. Many of the yeshivas had a lot of maskilim, Aherahim, but Lubavitch, Megabus, and B'Blai Merlech Yidin. So they came. I had a Zayda, my wife Zayda, who learned by the Chofetz Chaim. And by the Chofetz Chaim, everybody was very excited about Lashon Hara. I told Lashon Hara, never. But he saw, as I've seen in fact, Melave. So he turned over to one of the guys and said, I understand, we have the Chofetz Chaim, the old man, Orthodox, the whole business. He wrote a sefer about the Shmiras HaLashon. I said, how could you talk against Chassidim? So I said, you're right. Everybody was not, Chassidim are right. No. He was a straightforward guy. He didn't take it sitting down. He said, what kind of baloney is that? So he picked himself up and he went to Lubavitch. And he stayed there. That's how we got to Lubavitch. Very simple. And the Bachar told him the wrong answer. So he picked himself up, went to Lubavitch, and Kacha. And the story finished. There were a lot like that who arrived in Lubavitch in very interesting circumstances. So the poem, what was I saying before I introduced myself? The wall, Alperovich. Moshe Alperovich was not from a Lubavitcher family, as far as I know. I could be criticized, I don't know the shlochology of everybody. But he came to Lubavitch and he asked the guy, one of the Bachrim, what's the ethos? The guys are supposed to speak English. What is the ethos of this yeshiva? So they told him the ethos of this yeshiva is Ein Oid Milvado. And anybody who ever saw Moshe Alperovich or heard about him, that's what he turned into. He became Ein Oid Milvado. The guy was an unbelievable chossid through it. When he died, every newspaper in Etzisrael had a thing about him. He was a bricklayer. And he started Mivtzoyim. Before Mivtzoyim, he used to bench with the bricklayers and on. There's nothing else. When it came to speak by the Tzach convention, it was a bit hard of hearing. I take a mate, I thought it was Chassidus. So he got up and started giving me a whole beer and Einei Milvade. And I was told him, they talk about Tzach, it's not about Einei Milvade. That's what the guy was. But the word is that in Lubavitch, that's what the ethos of Einei Milvade, that's what Lubavitch is about. Now, afterward, when it came to Gzeirus, when it had its 400 Bochrim, and there's a very famous sefer called Ohole Shem. Ohole Shem is a sefer, which is a yellow pages of all Rabbonim in Russia in 1910, 1911, and 1912. And Amol is given a Kara Metzias, you can hardly get it. They published it. There was 4 pages about Lubavitch. Unbelievable. And he writes about Timchat Mimim in the most beautiful way. And the guy has all the Rabbanim, Litvisher, Pelisher, you name it, it's there. And in that sefer, when it comes to the Rebbe Rashab, he writes 4 pages of what Timchat Mimim is all about. A phenomenal piece of literature. The Bachel Lenin, 100 Bachel, and visits to the land, and you get food, etc., etc. But it's an unbelievable thing what Lubavitch, in its heyday. Then, of course, he put in the communists. We know when the communists came along, and things were not where they should be. And as a result of that, they had to break up the yeshiva, and then the Mesiras Nefesh started. And so the Indian Mesiras Nefesh. Everyone knows the story when the Friedrich Rebbe was asked by his father once, that's the impact of Chassidus on the Wachrim. So the Friedrich Rebbe said that it was pouring rain, and the Wachrim were sitting in the sukkah, and they were eating, or whatever they were eating. So what does that mean? That the Rebbe Rashab was, the Friedrich Rebbe saw that the Uftu of Limud HaChassidus on these guys had its impact, that even if it's pouring with rain, etc., etc., you still in the sukkah, didn't stop them. And the Mesiras Nefesh and Yigalait and all those Bochum who went out in those years to fight the communists and to keep Yiddishkeit going. And it's the most unbelievable thing. We take it for granted. Anyone who's actually met people who went through that kufr and realized what kind of problems they had, and how difficult it was, and when your father disappeared, and there was no oil, etc., etc. It's something that today, when you talk about it, sounds like fairy tales. That you couldn't go to a shul. I was in Rostov a few years ago. We met an old lady. She was deep in the 90s. So she said to us as follows: "You see that street down the road? That's where my grandfather took me to show me that the next block there's a shul. Couldn't take me into the shul. Because if I'd go into shul, they'd arrest him, they'd arrest my mother, my father. But he just wanted me to know, as his business, so don't na shul. So he walked me to that corner and just showed me there's a synagogue, and then he would tell me to go home, and he went to shul. But he was an old man, and he said, "Let him go." Now, when you hear such stories, you read them in the books, but when you hear from someone who was there, someone who saw it with their own eyes, you see what the Mesiras Nefesh in Russia was, which is Poshut. When the Rebbe used to talk about the Russian Yidden, and the main thing we talked sometimes of what happened and the amount that the Rebbe put in about the Russian Yidden is Hakhel. And then it came to America. Then Timchat Mimim started afresh. First, the Rebbe spoke about the 3 Tkufis, Russia, Poland, and the United States. Poland was a very, very interesting situation. Everyone was a sikh already, I don't repeat it. But there were big problems in Poland. Everybody liked Lubavitch taking over, as most people don't like when Lubavitch sometimes come and they take over. But it was a very, very interesting situation. Mitzad Echad, you also had people who came to Lubavitch who had no shaykhs whatsoever. Who sent Madame Shnuda to come to learn Lubavitch. And a lot of these guys, Lubavitch had a good name in Nigla. And one of the things which I think the Bochum not only have to know, but should know. Rabbi Yazarchi mentioned it, so it doesn't have to be repeated. Everything Rabbi Yazarchi tells you, listen to it, maybe a year of Hashem. One of the things, 19 Tavshach of Zion. Ramonke Gruzman, the Rosh was the Rosh Hashiva, Chabad, came to petition. And he went to Yechidus, and the Rebbe gave him in Staten. He got it, boy, he's that. Why isn't Yeshiva growing? Why is there no more Bochrim, no enough Bochrim? He, Mamish, got it in Bloi Muvan Hamila. And then, amongst other things, the Rebbe said to him, Ich will, a meiner Abocher, so sein Klor, von Chumash bis in Shagesari. Now, when you think about it for a moment, what was the Rebbe saying? So this brought me back to another sipur, which I heard from my Shver. My Shver learned in 770 Tavshin Gimel, Tavshin Beis, Tavshin Gimel, Tavshin Dalet. And many times the Rebbe would go up to the Frierdiker Rebbe and would come down and walk into the Zal and tell the Bocher, I'm just come jetzt to Shver, and this is what I heard. The famous, one of the most famous ones, which everybody I suppose has heard, it's not printed already also, was Frierdiker Rebbe said to the Rebbe that I had a dream last night, and my father, Rebbe Rashab, came to me and said, "Wie kommt es bei dir in Shul retten bei Kriyas HaTorah?" This was 25 years after the Talkus of Rebbe Rashab. So when Rebbe came down and told the story, so it's schon gehabt der Eimer war schwarz, der Eimer war fachet. But the Frierdiker Rebbe should say that the Tate gekommen zu mir nach Cholem and told me, wie kommt es bei dir in Shul retten bei Kriyas HaTorah? Famous story. And he said for the next few months no one opened their mouths, they were scared stiff. But then in Tavshin Gimel, the Rebbe came down once, and there was a whole bunch of guys who was there, the old man Fulham and all Hashem was there, and Kolodny, and the older people who were learning, 15 Bachar, more. And the Rebbe said, "Achum yetz shver." And then the Rebbe turned around and took his finger and said as follows, und der Shver hat gesagt, as will, and he pointed, as du, soll alle sein, lomdum uflogim. This is Tavshin Gimel. Now, Tavshin Gimel, these guys were mini ragged shovers, I don't think so, but that's what the Rebbe wanted. Mini Baisayinian, the Rebbe also once came down right after Lag Bema Parade. Lag Bema Parades did not start only Lag Bema. The first Lag Bema Parade was really Sukkot down. They had, first time it happened must have been maybe Beis Gimel. It was already the release hour was a Shabbos, and they made on Sukkot, in the Sukkah, they made a rally, and they had 300 children, which in those times was a mamash aguz megedola. To about 1943, and it was a massive success. The Rebbe was very, very happy about it. Famous story where the Rebbe opened the window, and it said that the Rebbe once had a mice with the Lavitzi Baditchev, that why does he say Vishomeru? Why do you put it by the Babish? Says it has in the Siddur, but we don't say it. So the Rebbe said, as I bet Vishomeru, Veta Yerid al Malachim Kumat Zaleif, and it goes crazy in the place. So the Rebbe said, Nicht auf alle Yeridim keme kummen. But the Frierdiker Rebbe said about this like Bema Parade, about them Yerid is a given. So the Rebbe came down the day after the parade, and he walked into the Zal, and the Bachar learning versteht sich. And he said to them, as Nechtel, ich bin am Meerdik Haslocha. And the Rebbe smiled, and he said, "Me geht übernehmen die Welt." So Hakhel told me, he looked at the Rebbe, sometimes someone says to you something, you think he's, too much to drink for a time, so it was 1943, you have 10 Bachar sitting in the Zal, and we get to the Welt. And they looked at the Rebbe like, and he was a serious man, he didn't tell jokes, but, he couldn't be massive. Everyone knows the last page in Yemei Bereshis, which of course all of you know by heart this time. Anyone remember what the last page in Yemei Bereshis is? No? Give $20 to the Hakhel fund. Oh, good excuse. That's always a good excuse. So you get it somehow. No such thing as out of print. You find it somehow. The last page of Yemei Bereshis is a very interesting page. First of all, the Rebbe kept the Sefer for over a year till he allowed it to be printed. Many things the Rebbe, I'm telling you, two stories. One story, when I came to Lubavitch, my connection with Lubavitch was I was a camper in Gan Yisrael in Tov Shin Chof. The Rebbe came to camp, I opened, came to every room, he was standing there, looked at the room, and then the story, there was one volume of Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. One volume, Tov Shin Chof. So I asked the guys there, is there anything else? He says, yeah, there's bases, a whole bunch of Sforim. I said, where is it? It's coming out. So that was Chelek Aleph, Tov Shin Chof. Came to Camp Chof, Chof Aleph, Chof Beis, Chof Gimel, Chof Dalet. There's no Beis, there's no Gimel, there's no Dalet. Tov Shin Chof Zayin, till Chof Tes, the whole set came out. Photostatic, nothing new. Pure surface in the back that takes 5 minutes. The Sikhs in English could have done it in 2 hours. No problem. And a few hours here, no, this one, that one. So I asked, then by that time I was already learning Chabad, I was only about 70. So I asked, what takes 9-7 years to print a photostat? When Rebbe wanted to print Tov Shin Chof, when Rebbe printed after his mother printed the Torah, didn't take that long. Very short. The Rebbe charged $5. They used to have, the Rebbe wanted all the Sfarim should be cheap, even though Hanukkah was always against it. The Rebbe wanted that the Sfarim should be very, very cheap, and they sold. The Torah was $5 under the one, and then the Siddur, Dach was also $5. Very cheap. They didn't want any of the Sfarim. But the Simchas Rebbe was a cloud, very makbid, it should be expensive. So eventually, when I married into the grown-up family, so I asked my uncle, what took so long for the Rebbe to print the So he told me, he said to me, the Rebbe wanted to be Magia. There are a few Hagoyes you'll find here and there, but we didn't have any time. I remember I was once walking in the library with a label, and he took out a certain sefer, and in the sefer was a letter to the Mechaber with Ha'oris, comments on the sefer. The only problem is someone cut off the comments. If you look at the English Kodesh, it says Choser. The label went bananas. I mean, he was livid. Someone Pasha had walked into the Rebbe's library. This is when the library was the way it is today. And Pasha cut off and took it and vanished. Only lay down, nobody knows. Ad Hayoim has a look at the English Kodesh to the author, just through the Margolius, and it says Choser. So the Rebbe told me that the Rebbe told in Tov Shin Yud, when he gets a sefer, he wants to write back to the Mechaber, and he wants to write Ha'oris, a few Ha'oris on each sefer. So the Rebbe looks at me and said, it lasted 2 svarim. Until then, never didn't have any time. He's got, hopefully I don't want it. There was a certain Chassidish mishpacha in England. One of the Bachram wanted to join Lubavitch. She was very, very close to Baal Futafas and was very into Nidach Chassidus and wanted to. And his father was very, very much against it. And he had a brother, very nice fellow. I knew the guy personally, very nice chap, nice fellow. But he made a bit of problems for his brother. Whenever his brother wanted to go to to other things, he would mamish. Till, if I'm not mistaken, he actually once hit him. And the Rebbe found out about it. So this fella gave out about 25 svarim at least. And he always sent in a copy to the Rebbe. Then, I once went into him to speak to him, and he says to me, he says, do you understand? He writes, he sends in every single sefer, and he says that Rebbe quotes him, because on Rashi, right, has a sefer from the Maharal's brother, and he gave it out, and the Rebbe quotes on the Rashis all the time, to say that. And I never get an answer, I never get, tach, niskabel, so Label says to me, when I told over what he had told me, he says he's not going to get an answer. So Label said, why not? He said, Aid was schlocked at Zweite because he wants to become Korov to Chabad, ain't going to get an answer. Which just shows you how sensitive the Rebbe was. I mean, the Chepet Amos was in the caravans of Siddhis. Whenever he came to Yechidus, there was a shrak caravan, no problem whatsoever. Getting back to the Bochum and Hakhel. Now, of course, those of you who participated in Rosh Hashanah and the Kibbutz of Hostea will realize that the behavior of some of the Bochum, I won't mention any names, any countries, needed a lot to be designed. I said it in Zal, in Hebrew, and many other languages. There's something that, I don't know, maybe people don't realize. When you're standing in 770, you have to realize you're not just standing in a Stama Beis Medrash. You're standing in the Rebbe's house, the Rebbe's palace. The Rebbe quotes in Chelik Daled, I think it is. Why shouldn't you live in Eretz Yisrael Bisman Hazeh? You know the Sikha, Rebbe quotes the Tashbitz. And Tashbitz says that there's a soul that's Paltu Shel Melech. Now, Paltu Shel Melech, you gotta behave completely different. You can't behave as if it's in your own house. I live in a house, a regular house. None of my children climb on the walls, or the chairs, or the tables. No Baruch Hashem Zaminig, and the whole Yain come upon me. You have to climb on everybody. People, chairs, whatever it is. I gotta be in the front. I mean, if you believe that Rebbe's there and Rebbe's looking, so the Rebbe's looking at a guy jumping on the table, for what reason at the end of the day? So Meilabakov is no, that you can actually make up for. But there's something, there's some level of behavior. Rebbe, as everybody knows, and this is something which you could say is very connected to Hakhel. What's it mean, Yiras Hashem? What does it mean, Yiras Hashem? Yiras Shamayim, what does Yiras Shamayim mean? When they bought the Keser in the Rebbe's Secretariat Mashiach. So the story goes like this: about a week before Yushvar HaGodol, the Rebbe told Label to get the smith, the guy who makes these golden ksorim, should bring in 8 or 9 different ksorim, and I'll choose one for Mashiach's Secretariat. So the guy came, and he brought 8 or 9 ksorim. He put them on the tables or whatever it was. He never went through each one. And he never said as follows, interesting. He never said, I want you to take the bottom of this and the top of this one and put the two together. And that's what the Kesser is all about. So the fellow asked the Rebbe, when do you want it by? So that's it, next Friday. This was like a week before. Now, even Sikhs in English can't do that. To make such a, it's an arbit. And Rebbe smiled and said, try your best. In fact, the Kesser came, it's a beautiful Kesser. And it had bells in it. Now, 770, as you know, there are a lot of people who love to criticize. It's very easy. There's a joke. The Milsa de Bdichas, which was said by one of the Bachim before, I didn't appreciate that much. But the ice cream is certainly shows the health, whatever it is. That's no question about it. Actually, Rotzer is also it's past Efshef. I might talk about it. I don't want to criticize the Bachim. But at the end of the day, the Kesser had bells. So the secretary moved, it made noise. So you have people in 770 who criticize. It's the easiest thing to do. You don't have to do much. Just criticize. So he wrote into the Rebbe, it seems, that the bells make noise on Shabbos. Es kann sein, es ist Shaila. That's about the Fedish Alter Rebbe, it's not Dovashin and Miskam. The whole thing is above myself. But one thing you saw, the next Shabbos, all the bells were missing. The Rebbe told, the Gabbai to take off all the bells. That means the chash of an Easter. The Rebbe got very excited about it. The Rebbe knew there's no Shaila whatsoever. And you saw by the Rebbe, almost every Nikudah, whether it's Talis, whether it's Tefillah, whether it's Tefillah, whether it's the Sefer Torah, the Rebbe Hashab's mother said on the Rebbe, as a Frumi on a Snaga. This I find very strange. Everybody wants to copy the Rebbe and many things the Rebbe did. I mean, take a look at hats, we spend sugar to geld for hats, etc. Why? Because the Rebbe wore his hats. Lovely in the Rebbe, yeah, fine. No problem. The Rebbe said, Baruch Hu Baruch Shmei, Misatera. The 3 Aliyahs, Monday and Thursday. There's 6 brachas. I can count. Every time the guy said Baruch Atah Hashem, so the Rebbe said Baruch Hu Baruch Shmei. I don't see Bachrim do that. I don't know why. Maybe they're too busy, saying Aleinu from Siddur. But the word is, if you can say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmei, and every bracha, like Kriyas HaTorah, why can't the Bachrim do it? Why is it all of a sudden, it's not the meaning. If the Rebbe does it, you could do it. So, I spoke 100% of this time when the Rav Bachrim do it. But the one standing next to me, I didn't see very, very many Bachrim. And in many instances, one has to ask oneself, that when we copy the Rebbe, in many inyonim, I'll just give one marshal, which a bit of everyone knows that there's a problem with blended whiskey, not the bottle, whiskey. Mice with cherry caskets, mice. We are medactic and addicted to calcium suffering what we eat. There has to be basishon, there's got to be yoshon, and then there's some mice and all in yonim. It's good to mashke. All of a sudden, we need all heterim. It goes in kratz heterim from unto the erd. All of a sudden, it's all mutter. Why? But it's mashke. What does that mean? So it's valsa mashke is good. Now, what's it then? It tastes good. A lot of people like it. It's not the hate on the chayim. So what do you have to? Live it is Mam Shachim with the rice, is Mam Shachim, Shachim befeirish, but it doesn't live it, doesn't. I have learned Rambam a few times, doesn't say that. Which basically means that in every Indian, I remember Label once told me, I'm going to take a story. You take a look in his Kashrus, which is a very interesting publication. Sometimes Eretz it is Zach, and sometimes a bit, takes too much to live it maybe, so it doesn't like it. The Rabbeim had a minhag to eat milchiks on Pesach. Said the Rebbe Rashab, said Friedrich Rebbe, said the Rebbe. The Rebbe Rashab used to get the Schmerlings, the famous Schmerling cheese. He used to get to the Babich, he used to send cheese. So the Rebbe used to eat sometimes either cottage cheese or yogurt on Pesach. One day Label goes to the shop and he brings the Rebbe cottage cheese. The Rebbe looks at the box. And he says to Label, "Shteik dish kosher Pesach." So Label said, "I was in the box that said kosher Pesach." I said, No. I want to have something that says kosher Pesach. So Label had to go back to the shop. They had to bring in cottage cheese, but said the ferish kosher Pesach, etc. But we know that the Frumkeit and the Yerushalayim and the Diktu Kal Shel Divrei Sofrim. We never saw something on the floor. Everyone saw the tape, the video. We never saw some dirt on the floor. They told Meister that that's when Rashi's father used to clean up the besmedish with his beard. You take a look at Rebbe's Hakpodah in certain inyonim. So if we consider ourselves to be Chassidim, we consider ourselves to be, Balei Madrege, who follow the Rebbe, there's a lot to be, let's talk about punctuality, coming on time. There's a book, about how Rebbe in Paris, that the Rebbe was in Paris twice, and twice with the Mesiris Nefesh. One of the interesting things, the Rebbe had, there was a Rav, the Rabbi Rubinstein. So the Rubinstein had been a Kotzke Chossid. The Rebbe called him a Kotzke Chossid, and the Rebbe said, if again, far Kiddush Levon, Motzei Kippur, if again in Mikveh. Not everybody goes. The Rebbe said, aber ihr wollt sein Gefühl da, und nicht Pikuach Nefesh. You can imagine, I was in the mikveh Erev Kippur over here with a Bochrin. I forgot Abba Shem Ba'ayin, as a Meifus Golem, I've been Shigema, Baruch Hashem, I got in and out with both socks. Or whatever it is. So this Rabbi Rubinstein was a Rav in Paris, and the Rebbe was very friendly. So came Erev Sukkos, and Avon Israelim, Malave Israelim. So they went over to this Rav. He said, so Afahido Mitzvah is do Achiyah from Mesiris Nefesh. Now, the Rebbe never, ever went against a Rav. The Rebbe was in a Ches. The doctors wanted the Rebbe to be moved to a hospital. And there was then a whole bunch of them in the Bezdin. I was in Machir, I was like, the Rebbe to the hospital. And the Rebbe said, I never went against Rabbonim, and I don't want to start. So he asked this Rubinstein, so Fahido Mitzvah Doam is a din of Mesiris Nefesh. So this Rubinstein right away realized what the Rebbe meant. And he said, but he didn't tell the Rebbe no. And as a result of that, the Rebbe went to the French border with Italy and disappeared for a few days and eventually brought back 3 or 4 Israelim. The second time this happened, and the only reason we know the story because Rubinstein in his book actually tells the story. In the Shloshim, there was a chasna, one of the Bezners, and his daughter got married in the Shloshim, and he told the story that he remembers what the Rebbe asked him. The second story is printed in Bitor Chabad. But if you take a look at Bitor Chabad, there's a paragraph which is missing. It doesn't clap. You take a look at the beginning of the story, and then there's something missing, and then the continuation of the story. And you don't understand what happened in the middle. What happened in the middle was as follows. I've told the Shvigatler, the guy who put the article together, that the Rebbe had to make matzahs. And there was the titles and the Zilbersteins, the whole group of fella that the Rebbe got matzah. He got flour from Italy. I got some I got mama's Mesiris Nefesh. And when the Rebbe saw the article, a big X, and had to take it out. But there you see Mesiris Nefesh b'pei mamash. That's not, Bechlal, there's a story in that book that Butman wrote, that there was once a guy had an appointment to see the Rebbe at 2 o'clock. So he meets the Rebbe outside, and the Rebbe, he said, Rebbe, well, we still got 5 minutes. The Rebbe smiled at him and said, 5 minutes can nasach ufta. It was like very serious. In 5 minutes, there's a lot that can actually be done. So, to cut it short, because I always get late. He says, I could push it to the Rebbe. The Rebbe wanted Bochum to learn, there's no question about it. The Rebbe, first of all, to understand the Sichos properly. The Rebbe, the Angelic Kirchus Adire, Parshas Noach. Famous story, which many of you don't know. In the book by Label, it only has half the story. The Rebbe was Magia, Tavshel Amad Ches, the Sikha of Bereshis before Yom Tov. So Bereshis was out. Came Parshas Noach, the Sikha wasn't Mugi yet. And the doctors told Label that he wants 10 o'clock lights have to be out. The Rebbe must go to bed by 10 o'clock. The Rebbe is ill. Now we know how ill the Rebbe was. Then we didn't have a sober how bad it was. But it was bad. Worse than bad. So they said they're going to bring in the last mail at 8:45, and the Rebbe will read the mail the next morning. He doesn't have to read it at night. So my uncle Abel put the sikha on top, brought in the letters at 8:45, and at 8:45 he goes into the Rebbe, puts the little thing back, and he goes out. He never dreamt in his life that the Rebbe would do Magia Sikha that night. The night before the Rebbe went. lights were supposed to close at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, the lights don't close. 11 o'clock, the lights don't close. 12 o'clock, the lights don't close. 1 o'clock, the lights don't close. At 2:15, the Rebbe rang the bell, and the Rebbe said, Shemuga, you can print it now. So Label wanted to kill himself, that he gave in the Sikha. But I mean, Sikha is not such a big Sikha. One shtickle is Baruch Shabbat Kedesh, but the Sikha is not such a big Sikha about the Chacham Tzitzenes, and about the Sheishes Halofen, the Efla Nayet Sideres. It's not a big Sikha. They put 5 hours to make it on the Sikha. Now, if a person doesn't Moshe Gracious, had Yeshua, the taste of Shabbos, whatever it is, you take a look at the Sikhs. If a person does not know good Vitzulen, then he doesn't get what the Sikh wants. So even Shalei Lishma, Pasha zu verstehen, tief, was the Sikh will. Auch man kann gut lernen. The Rebbe put in Keches Adirim, and as a result of that, we have to reciprocate. There's a story which I also heard, that the first Fabrengen that ever came out of Shalom at Ches, as you all know, was Yitis Kislev. This Kislev, they told that Rebbe can Fabreng for 1 hour. The Koil never Fabreng for 3 hours. When Rebbe finished the Fabrengen, one of the doctors went over to the label, to the Yaman, what it was. He looked at him and said, do you realize what just happened? Do you realize what just happened? Yes, the Rebbe Fabreng. You don't understand. We told the Rebbe could Fabreng for 1 hour. And as Weiss said later, the minute that Rebbe started the Fabrengen, they saw there was something wrong. That the heartbeat was no good, and they pushed. Weiss said he wanted to go over to the Rebbe and tell the Rebbe to stop. How do you tell a Rebbe to stop? You never let it stop. But he was shivering, he was up in English in his pants. Rebbe, only by the mimer, he said, then it was light, then it was no problem. But the rest of the secrets, he says, it was shocking. You didn't know what to do. So the doctor said, the Rebbe was Moise Nefesh for you guys. No? What about you guys doing Moise Nefesh for the Rebbe? Or not? So we have to understand, I had a shaila, I said this in 770 a few weeks ago. Someone asked me where I got it from. I heard it, was a Bach in Yeshiva, that the Rebbe Rashab chose which neshamas are going to learn in Temple Trina. So if you guys know Mocker, I'll be very happy to tell me. But I heard this many, many years ago, before all you guys were born. But that's the state. In Bach there in Temple Trina have a very ridiculous. People don't realize. And eventually you go out on Shlichus. What the Shluchim have done is an unbelievable thing. The Rebbe sent Shluchim B'chol Olam Kuloi in a way that nobody. Let me get back to you, Mebreshis. Let me remind you, Mebreshis. Let me get away with it. The last page in your Mebreshis goes as follows. There was a guy by the name of Charles Raddock. Think of an afternoon on a board. He was a writer. And he was very close to 770. I don't know how he got to 770. I don't know. He was very close to 770. He used to hang around. He was very close to the Rebbe before the Nesias. And he was very close to the Groaners, all the Groaners. After Tovshin, after Yud Shvat, Tovshin Yud, he met Rabbi Groner in Australia, my Shver. He met in the east side. And he goes over to him, and he says to him, my Shver's name is Yitzchak David. Yitzchak! What do you say about the new Rebbe? So my Shver looked at him, you don't talk like that. So he said, let me tell you something. What this Rebbe is going to do, the Baal Shem Tov didn't even do. There's a guy on our board, he was going to yeshiva, had no shayches. And he said this. And he said, this is Tovshin Yud. What this Rebbe is going to do, the Baal Shem Tov didn't even do. So therefore, we, as Shluchim of the Rebbe, as Talmidim of the Rebbe, as Tmimim of the Rebbe, have an unbelievable schus We have an unbelievable schayvus. We have to pay back. The Rebbe wrote to Zalman, a famous few, that ich will and the shas was ich about eingelegt tonight. That the Rebbe will demand the hours that he put into every single one of us. So therefore we have to realize that achrayus that's on us. We have to do as much as we can, maybe more. You're young. You don't have all these tirdas apanosa, eintige lekute aite teira erev, tirdas apanosa. None of you guys have tirdas. And other guys don't have it. You have to raise some money for Hakhel. Okay, you'll get money, don't worry. The Rebbe soll helfen haben, soll ich schon, was der Rebbe will. Man soll sein, an das Gehirn sein, nach Chasur, der Rebbe, die Ike, der Rebbe, des Gallos, und Mashiach Tzidkenu bekorban.